Hey students, it's Mr. Routhier with another fabulous project. What we're going to do this week is we're going to create the Flappy Bird game. Remember that thing that was popular last year, or was it 2 years ago? Made you crazy because you couldn't beat it. And then it disappeared and people were selling phones that had it installed on it because you couldn't find it anywhere else. And they were getting more money for Flappy Birds than their phone was worth. It was awesome. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go to your Click Team Fusion, and you're going to do File, New, and create a new application. I don't want it to be called Application, and you shouldn't either. So if you just right-click on there, and you can do F2, or you can just click Rename, and we'll call this Flappy Bird, or whatever you want to name it. Don't just hit a bunch of keys, please. I hate that. Okay, so there's Flappy Bird. All right, let's go to frame 1, where all the action's going to happen. And you can see by default it's just a big blank theme, and it's got a title. You can even put a password on there. And notice, here's the size of it, 640 by 480, which is like a standard old monitor back from like 10 years ago. We're going to change this, and let's change. Notice when I click in there once, I can now hit the backspace and I can change this. I'm going to change this to 480 by, you see the little parentheses appear around it? That's when you know you got it. By 864. Okay, seems like an odd number, but what I'm doing is I'm thinking ahead, and if I want to add in a feature where we can make this game different for different types of browsers, like for example, if someone was playing on a phone versus playing it on a computer, you would set the game up differently, the size of the board and everything. So we're just going to do that, and we'll see if we need that later. The next thing we want to do is we want to turn the grid setup button on. And what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to snap our pieces in a little easier. Now to do that, if you don't see a little icon, now I don't see a little icon up here. You might see it. It's a little white icon in the top left corner, has some little dots. But if you don't see it like I don't see it, you just right click in this area and you go down to your let's see, Layers toolbar. No, that's not it. Right click and, oh, here we go, Customize. Okay, see, I'm on Customize. And then I'm going to go to Toolbars. And then I'm going to see this Frame Editor toolbar. I'm just going to check that and say Close. And you can see it added a whole new toolbar down here. The one we want is this one here. You can see it's got the little dots in the corner, and then it's got the couple, it's called Grid Setup. So you just click on that. Oh, make sure you're on the frame. Click on your grid setup and nothing's happening. Okay, let's try this. Double click your frame so you can see it. And now, there we go. Okay, so make sure you're here in your frame. I haven't quite mastered this yet either. And then find your grid setup. And what you want to do is you want to set the size to width 8 and height 8. And you want to check this button that says Snap to. Okay, you got it? All right, good. Excellent. Okay, well, let's bring in the backdrop. And naturally, we're going to go to our library. And remember, if you can't find anything, if you've got your view, you can right-click in here instead of doing view, and you can just check these things and make sure your library window's turned on. Okay, and then I can come down here to my tutorials, and I'll see Faulty Flap. That's the name that the people at Click Team gave it, because they can't call it Flappy Bird. That's a copyright violation. All right, Faulty Flap. And then we need the horizon backdrop. Okay, here it is. And we're just going to drag it up, and you can see this little area here. You're just going to drop it right in there like that. Okay, isn't that marvelous? It fits right in this, in the bottom left corner of the little outline. We'd also like to turn the background this same blue color. So let's do that. Let's click on our frame, and then you want to look down at your properties. Okay, remember, and if you can't see it for some reason, you can right click on your frame and choose properties, just so you can see the properties down here. Now here is your background color. Okay, 255, 255, 255. I've shown you in Photoshop to create a background color, you use a 6 hexadecimal number. This is another way of doing it. You define the red, green, and blue, and then the computer puts it together and it comes up with a color. Okay, so we're going to change this RGB color. I'll click on Edit. I don't want to click Edit. I want to click on RGB. Okay, background color. Sorry. Other. And then I want to click on Custom. See that? And then in RG&B, I want to change this to 60 for red. Green is going to be 188. 188. And then blue will be 252. 252. And you can see, it hit OK. It makes a nice, pretty blue that matches the blue in this picture. Okay, we are looking good so far. All right, let's bring our bird in. Our bird is important. Before we do that, we're going to do something new in here. We're going to use layers. Do you remember in Photoshop how we used layers to put two pictures in the same picture? And we just would put one would be on top and the other would be on bottom. So we're going to do that. Now we need the layer toolbar. I already turned that on. If you do view toolbars, make sure you've got a layer toolbar. Oh, it's not turned on. So click on that, and you can see over here you've got your layer toolbar. Okay, and right now you only have one layer. What we want to do is we want to have the Flappy Bird is going to be on a different layer than this. Okay, we want it to be in the same frame, but we want it to be on a new layer. So you just come up, you see this little thing that says new layer, little piece of paper? You click it, and then choose that new top layer. So you can have layer 1 and layer 2. Layer 2 is on top, and this is where Flappy Bird's going to go. Okay, you with me there? Okay, good, good, good. All right, let's go down to our library. Here's Flappy Bird. Bring him in and put him over the clouds. And like maybe over this second tall building. Put him up here somewhere. That's a nice spot for him to start. He looks good, doesn't he? Cute little Flappy Bird. Okay. Let's go to his properties. Just click on him, and you'll see the properties over there. If you don't see him, you can right-click on him and choose properties down there. And I want you to see that if we go to movement, he's already set up to be a bouncing ball. The initial direction is 24, and let's see, and his initial speed is 0. Okay, that means he's not moving. So if you play the game, if you do F8, run application, he's animated. As you can see, he's animated, but he's not going anywhere because his speed is 0. Cool. All right, so we're looking good so far, right? Everybody happy? Okay. All right, now it's time to go to the event editor, and we're going to make it so when we hit the mouse buttons, that Flappy Bird, well, he jumps. He goes up. Okay, so let's find our event editor. I believe it is this set storyboard frame. Here it is. Remember this event editor right here? Good. Click on that thing. Now, this is going to have a lot more events than any of our other things that we've done. So what we want to do is we're going to group our events to make them a little bit easier to read. Okay, so come on here into the number 1. And I want you to right-click, pardon me, on number 1. And I want you to say, where is it? Insert. There it is. Go to insert a group of events. Okay, and we're going to give this name. We're going to call this game.play. All right, I'm going to say OK. I'm not going to put a password on it. Don't put passwords on it. So now underneath gameplay, we'll have the conditions that will create our little guy to move. Now let's go to our. So we've got gameplay down here to number 2. See how it's indented a little bit? This is very much like, writing a paragraph or this is a lot like writing, okay? Underneath gameplay is going to be like a little mini paragraph or a couple sentences of stuff that are involved with gameplay. Okay, and that's let us start out, and we're just going to add 2 events. Okay, so new condition. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say when the mouse, when the user clicks the mouse and it's the left button, then I want Flappy Bird to go up. Okay, so then I'm going to come over to where Flappy Bird is. See right there? And I'm going to right click in there, and I'm going to say set his direction. Where's direction? It's the 3rd one down. Select direction, and I want it to go up 8, and get rid of this 0. Excuse me. I had a little lemonade from PDQ left over, so. All right, so 8 means go up. Say okay to that. And I also want to change his speed. So I'm going to say movement, set speed to 75. Okay to that. And we'll give him a little deceleration as well. Movement, set deceleration to 65. All right, so you can see I've got those 3 things in there. So this says if the user clicks the left mouse button, then make him go up at a speed of 75 with the deceleration of 65. I just want to put one more thing in here under gameplay, and that is going to be if the user accidentally double clicks instead of single clicking. And the same exact thing is going to happen. So we're just going to right click, and we're going to say mouse, and we'll say user clicks, and we'll say double click. Okay, if they double click with the left mouse. So, because you get excited when you play this game, And we're going to have the same thing happen here. We're going to set our direction to 8. Get rid of the 0. And we will do the speed to 75. And we will set the deceleration to 65. Okay, we're looking good. And I think we will stop there for, so we'll make some, try to make short lessons. They're a little easier to accomplish that way. So before we stop, though, we should test the game out. We'll run the application. Now, if I click on the left mouse or double click, you can see that Flappy Bird goes up. Okay. Gee, maybe we should give him. He looks kind of dumb going up. All right, let's do one more thing. I'm sorry I faked you out. I apologize. We're going to add one more set of events. And I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to look at the instructions. And under the bird, this is where I'm pulling all my instructions from, by the way. So there's our bird, and here's our gameplay. And you can, so if you're having trouble watching this, you can open this thing up too, and just make sure you're doing everything the way I'm doing it. So let's add one more set of events. We're going to add this bird active set. And you see those, if you're doing this by hand, don't worry about these 2 slashes. This just this thing here, this / bird falls, what that is a comment. When you're writing a program and you want to put something in there in English that the computer will ignore, you use these double slashes. Okay, so let's set up a second set of events. I'm going to click down here on this 5, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say insert a group of events, and I'm going to call it bird.active. That's the name of our Flappy Bird, bird.active. It's not a very exciting name, is it? No. And let's set his speed, let's say, when the bird, all right, let's check this out. This says when the speed of our bird is 0. Okay, so we're going to say right click on our bird, and we will say movement, and we'll say compare the speed of the bird to a value, and we'll leave 0 in there. So we'll say when the speed of this bird is equal to 0. Okay, see how that's what it is? When you see that little square, that's a picture of the bird. And when the bird is facing in direction 8. So I need to right click in here again and insert a second expression. I'm going to say when the bird is facing up, direction 8, right? Let's make sure we did this right. When the speed of the bird is 0 and the bird is facing direction 8, which is up, then okay, let's bring this down here. Then we come out to the bird and we say set the direction of the bird. All right, let me just pay attention to this. Then we're going to say set the direction to 24. Direction, select direction 24. Okay. And we're going to say set deceleration to 0. So right click, movement, set deceleration to 0. Okay, now what does that say? This says if the bird is moving up but it is stopped, it's reached a speed of 0 going up, then what happens? What goes up must come down, right? If you throw a ball in the air, it'll reach a point and then it will start falling down. Well, that's what we just said. After this bird is done going up and it stopped moving up, then turn the direction around so it's going downward. Okay, and then so it's going to fall down. Let's see, one other thing. And the last thing we want is if this says if the bird is facing direction 24, that's down. Okay, so I'm going to right click in here and I'm going to say if the bird is in the direction of down, see I did the 24, then what should happen? Well, if it's facing down, it should start moving down. And this is how this is really cool the way it does this. It says if it's facing in a downward direction, then every 0.05 seconds, the birds should go down and increase its speed. Every 0.05 seconds, it should go 10 faster. So it'll go down and down and down faster and faster and faster. It'll accelerate. Okay, so we need a second thing in here. So if it's facing down and insert. Now, we haven't used the clock before. You're going to use the clock. This is called the timer. And we're just going to right click here and we're going to say every. So what this says is every, however, I mean, you could have this happen every hour, minute, second, or hundredth of a second. We're going to say 5 hundredths of a second, and we want 0 on there. On this, there we go. So every 0.05 seconds, see that? Every 0.05 seconds, it's going to go down and it's going to increase its speed. So it's going to go faster and faster and faster. Okay, so and how do we say that? What we do is we say set the speed to the speed of the bird plus 10. Okay, so the first, as soon as it starts down, the speed is 0 plus 10, right? And then 0.05 seconds later, what happens? The speed of the bird becomes 10 plus 10, which is 20. And then 0.05 seconds later, it's 20 plus 10, which is 30. And then 0.05 seconds later, it's 30 plus 10, which is 40. You see how its speeds builds as it goes down? All right, so let's put that in there. So the speed of the bird movement, set speed to, click on the bird, and let's see, movement speed. So the speed of the bird plus 10. Okay, so I'll just put in here plus 10. All right, see that? Set the speed of the bird to the bird plus 10. So as it drops, it goes faster and faster and faster. All right, so let's test this. I gotta be faster. See, that as soon as I start the bird, when the bird starts falling, okay, so I'm gonna, whoa. Does that look familiar to you? I'm just clicking the mouse, keeping the bird from falling. All right, now we don't have any horizontal motion yet, but this is a start. Okay, so you can have fun with this all day long. Look at that. Oh, this is great. Woo! Okay. All right. Make sure you save your game and stay tuned for lesson 2. All right. Thanks for listening, and I hope you got this right. Bye-bye now.